thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator Benny.
okay.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
These are the people who run the country. Joining me now, my buddy Scott Pressler. He is the national spokesman for the Great Early Vote Action PAC. Scott, okay, understandably, people don't want Mitch McConnell there anymore, but people haven't really thought this all the way through. Would you please explain what happens if Mitch McConnell resigns?
Well, Jesse, this is the most consequential election happening this November. And this is probably one of the biggest stories and nobody's talking about it. So as we just saw, Mitch McConnell's health is in question. And if for some reason he is forced to retire, the current Democratic governor of Kentucky would be able to appoint his replacement. And we're actually having an election to find out who is going to become the next governor this November. So do we elect Republican DJ Cameron, or is Democratic Governor Andy Beshear going to stay in there? But here's the worst part. Andy Beshear has already stated publicly that he would not support Kentucky state law, which would force him to take 3 Republican senatorial replacement picks and choose one of those if and when Mitch McConnell forces to retire. So basically what I'm saying to you is this election in November could have national implications on what happens with the Senate going into 2024, and if Republicans are even able to take back the Senate.
Okay, Scott, you know this on the ground stuff. Other people do not. Tell me what I'm supposed to make of Kentucky. What kind of state is this? I'm so confused. I look at, they have this governor, but then I look at the state legislature and I don't understand. What is this place?
Well, I'm not going to come at you like I'm a connoisseur of Kentucky. I'm not. But I listen to people on the ground, and what they told me is that the previous Republican governor was not pushing forth great policy, especially in regards to teachers. And Matt Bevin in 2019 lost to Andy Beshear by 5,000 votes. 5,000 votes won a Democrat governor that role. And so now this year, you had Andy Beshear, who locked down the state under Corona, who freed prisoners while locking down law-abiding Kentuckians, shutting down churches and businesses and schools. And so it's really going to come down to the people. This is a base election. Who is going to get more people out to vote, either for Beshear or hopefully for our Republican candidate, DJ Cameron.
Okay, so how are things looking on the ground, Scott, as far as our GOTV efforts and things like that in a very critical state with critical races? Are we getting our act together, or are we going to get beaten by these people again?
Yes and no. I mean, I visited Lexington and I did door knocking, and yes, they do have a ground game. Yes, they are out in 90-degree weather knocking on doors. But the fact of the matter is the Democrats are playing for keeps. They are knocking on Republican doors. They're not just focusing on Democrats. They're trying to take some of our votes away from Daniel Cameron in order to reelect Beshear. So, I mean, if you are in the state of Kentucky and you are not currently knocking on doors and you're not currently getting involved, please go to CameronForKentucky.com. Please sign up at earlyvoteaction.com. I'll put you to work. But this election, if you are a Donald Trump supporter, if you are a Governor DeSantis supporter, I understand that you are focused on 2024 and winning that election. But the fact of the matter is that your candidate in 2024 is going to benefit from us winning in Kentucky this November, from winning the Louisiana governorship, from winning the Mississippi governorship. So I'm asking for everybody to put aside focusing on 2024 and focus on this year's elections.
Scott, what other local races should we be talking about? Because I, as you know, push this hard. I want people focusing much more locally for 2024. What else should we be keeping our eyes on?
Well, you were very generous in having me come on in April when I was pushing for the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, which, by the way, we lost, even though we just elected Ron Johnson to the Senate just the November prior in 2022. And look what's already happened. The liberals have taken over, and they're doing a very extreme takeover on day one of that Supreme Court justice being elected. And so in Pennsylvania, where I currently am, I'm in Allentown in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. We have the opportunity this November to elect Judge Carolyn Carluccio to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. But here's what I want everyone to take away from this interview. If Republicans are unable to win this seat, electing Judge Carolyn Carluccio to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, if we don't win, Republicans will not be able to take back the Supreme Court until 2035. And they rule on mail-in ballots. They rule on COVID. They rule on the power of the governor. So if you actually want to make a difference and make sure that we're going to have a successful 2024, we need every Pennsylvanian to focus on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court election. And as I mentioned, Jeff Landry in Louisiana. As I mentioned, Tate Reeves in Mississippi. We even have the opportunity in New Jersey. If we take 7 General Assembly seats, we're going to stop Democratic Governor Murphy from being able to pass reckless legislation. And besides Kentucky, here's what I believe is the most consequential election. In 2021, we elected Governor Glenn Youngkin in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we flipped the House of Delegates. We control 2 out of 3 of the legislative elements in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This November, if we pick up 2 state Senate seats in Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin will have an entirely Republican legislature. And what does that mean? That means people are going to move to Virginia. That means that we're going to be able to legislate on day one in 2024. And you know what that means? It means Virginia is in play in 2024 to elect a Republican president.
For too long, we've been led to believe that communism is a thing of the past. But the truth is, communism is alive. It's here, and it's infiltrating every aspect of American life. Introducing the Anti-Communist Manifesto by Jesse Kelly, the practical guide for patriots ready to defend our nation from its most dangerous enemy. Discover the shocking extent of communist infiltration in our education system, their alliance with American corporations, and the twisted truth behind environmentalism. This eye-opening book exposes the true face of communism and empowers you to fight back. Join the fight for freedom. Pre-order your copy of the Anti-Communist Manifesto today by going to jessekellybook.com.